Welcome to Season 17 of Marrow Masters, sponsored by Insight and the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. This season focuses on adolescents and young adults, or AYAs. They are often caught in the middle, too old for some pediatric practices, but much younger than other cancer survivors in an adult clinic. We'll be talking with a variety of speakers this season who will share their best tips, tricks, and ideas for this unique segment of the population. Our guests will offer grit, honest feedback, advice, hope, and so much more. Here's your host, Executive Director of the NBMT Link, Peggy Burkhart.
Hello, everyone. So today we have with us Kitrena Young. Kitrena will share her cancer story, which began when she was very young and has spanned several decades. Kitrena's grace and grit are palpable. You will be so moved by her experiences. Kitrena has a lot of great advice to share, especially regarding fertility and advocacy. Welcome, Kitrena.
Thank you, Peggy, for having me on Marrow Masters today.
Tell us about your initial diagnosis and details about your treatment.
Yeah, I am a childhood cancer survivor and also an adult cancer survivor as well. I was diagnosed with B-cell ALL, Philadelphia chromosome. I was diagnosed at 8 and relapsed 23 years later.
Wow. You started out as a youngster, very different, I'm sure, than when you were a young adult. Tell us exactly what happened in the last few years, Kitrena, when your life again was upended and how you knew something was wrong.
So it started off with bruising. It was something that I kind of ignored for a little bit. It was a little bit of self-denial at first. I was just busy with life at that point. I was getting laid off and was trying to look for a new opportunity. And there was just a lot of things going on. I had just closed on a house, an apartment in New York City, was just kind of living life. So I thought maybe the bruises were from the renovations of our new apartment. And I kind of ignored it, but it seemed a little bit off. So I got more and more worried because most of the bruising were in the inner parts of my body. So I had made an appointment with my primary care, and that's when I found out something was wrong and not right.
What exactly was the diagnosis the second go around?
It was the exact same diagnosis. They thought maybe it could be something that was secondary or new, but yeah, it was the same exact diagnosis, which was very surprising.
Boy, that must have just knocked you off your socks. I can't imagine. You finally thought it was in the rearview mirror, and here you are again. I just think how hard that must have been and how difficult it was to accept it.
Yeah, it was really difficult. It was my worst nightmare that came to reality, but, I had to do what I had to do. And it was a very different experience this time around.
Tell us more about that. How did you approach it and advocate for yourself now as an adult?
After I found out, it was really my platelets that signaled everything. So it was on a Friday morning when my doctor's office had called about my blood work. And I didn't receive the call, but I kept seeing voicemails after voicemails. So I knew something was up, and they told me to immediately sign off from work. And they had put me in touch with a program coordinator. And
okay,
I started to research, go online and find all the hematologists and oncologists that I can find to get an appointment, because the program coordinator couldn't get anything soon enough either on her end. I had called my brother. He lives pretty close to me. And at that time, my voice was breaking. I was in tears trying to figure out what to do next. And every time I called someone to get an appointment, it would be weeks, months out. And it was just very difficult until someone over on the other side of the phone had been, I don't even know their name. I just know it was a woman who listened to my story, because I called my pediatric oncologist and they couldn't do anything. So I started to share my story that I was a childhood cancer survivor and, this had happened to me. And I believe it was the blood cancer center or specialist. She had put me in touch with Brooklyn Hospital, got me an appointment because I said I could, as long as you can get me an appointment, I would go anywhere. So I'm from Queens. I live in Queens right now. So going to Brooklyn was not too far. My brother came with me. So
that's good.
Yeah, part of it.
And there's nothing like the grit of a New Yorker. We don't take no for an answer, do we?
Exactly.
Good for you. So, oh my goodness, figuring out where to go for your care as an adult. I'm guessing things had changed in 20 plus years, particularly the medical technology. Tell us about that, Kitrena.
Yeah, I mean, when I got to Brooklyn Hospital, they said they had a partnership with MSK.
MSK, just so everybody knows, that's Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center.
Yes.
Continue.
I'm so thankful for Dr. Quadri and his team. They stayed after hours to make sure all the labs and tests were ran. And although they couldn't confirm the results at the time, they sent me home and told me that the weekend oncologist would call. So on Saturday, Dr. Nobby from Brooklyn Hospital called and confirmed that it was indeed leukemia.
Okay.
He couldn't give me the exact subtype. They were trying to get me admitted as soon as possible. At that point, I started to pack my bags and I was fully expected to be hospitalized for months. And since I was planning to move by the end of the month, I also started packing my apartment. I had called my manager for the very first time on a weekend. I had broke the news to her and we're both sobbing. And by the time Monday came, I had a huge headache and was just full of anxiety. I gathered some information from a few phone calls and decided to go to the doctor's office. My brother and my partner were with me.
Okay.
And I was greeted by Dr. Smith, who I believe was a fellow. And he has shared that he was also a childhood cancer survivor. We're about the same age and was treated around when he was 8 too. So it felt comforting to meet another cancer peer who had become an oncologist.
Well, that's good.
So, at this point, my entire world was collapsing. My partner also had gotten laid off a few days ago. I had to figure out whether to move in or out, when that was going to happen, while also being responsible for a mortgage. And this whole cancer thing just took a huge toll.
Yeah.
The bone marrow biopsy took about 15 minutes, but it was super painful. And then I had to go back to the exam room to hear more about the prognosis. They weren't sure whether this would be a new cancer or relapse because they have never seen relapse after 20 plus years, especially for ALL. But actually, a relapse would be the best case scenario, apparently.
Okay.
Because there has been huge pharmaceutical advancements. Instead of staying in the hospital, they said I can go home and work through treatment, which came to my surprise because I was sure I was going to have to stay in the hospital for months. But they said there was this new oral medication called dasatinib that specifically targeted ALL. And on top of that, I had to take some steroids and make sure I was hydrated. And this combo would get me into remission or very close to remission in about 3 months.
Well, that's good.
And after hearing that, everyone in the room, me, my brother, my partner, we were so relieved since I had prepared myself for the worst. I had to go for appointments 3 to 4 times a week, which was similar to the schedule when I was a child. But instead of having to jab like 2-inch needles into my thigh and just feeling sick and fatigued all the time, I could just take oral medication and work and do everything else while I planned for my transplant. And so my partner drove me and took me to every single appointment until then.
It sounds like you were in really good hands. Oh, boy. So, Kitrena, let's move on and talk about fertility. This is such a big concern for our AYAs, and you have lived it. So tell us how you navigated that.
Yeah, I mean, going to see Dr. Stein, that initial meeting, I already had in my mind egg freezing. So we had brought it up at that initial visit and started everything right away because there was a limited time before I get to or have to start treatment.
Okay.
I learned that you had to get an attorney for surrogacy, and it also cost more than I thought. Initially, I was told $130,000 to $140,000, and that was back in 2022. But now, after doing more research, realistically, you may have to budget for $200,000 or more because there could be complications and it may not be successful the first time. I'm so glad we're learning more about the surrogacy process now.
Yeah.
So I froze my eggs and I got 15 eggs. So at that time, I didn't have any information, didn't know anything about egg freezing or fertility. I thought 15 eggs will give me 15 children, an opportunity for that.
Okay.
And now a few years later, I'm starting this topic and conversation again with my partner. Like, this have been a time of grieving for us because it was something that was taken away because I thought, oh yeah, I can carry my own child. But now because of the treatment, I'm unable to carry my own child.
Okay.
So at this time, we were looking into creating embryos because before we did not have enough time to really think about all of that. So we're starting the process. And a few weeks ago, I actually started to look into genetic testing. So I had to get a procedure actually for genetic testing because my DNA after a bone marrow or a T-cell depleted transplant, my DNA is no longer my own DNA. It's my donor's DNA.
Sure.
So the only viable material would be my skin.
Huh.
So that's why they had to do a biopsy on my skin. But it was actually deeper and more painful than I imagined it to be.
Okay.
So I'm actually still recovering from it.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. So that's how they were able to test the DNA then, through the skin biopsy?
Yes.
It's so interesting. Are you waiting at this point for results on that?
Yes, I'm currently waiting for results on that. And then my partner will have to do a similar genetic testing. But it's very different and very simple for him. All he has to do is send and ship his saliva in the mail.
You definitely got the short straw on that one, huh? So, Kitrena, what advice would you give someone in their 20s getting ready for a transplant?
Freeze your eggs.
Okay.
Or sperm if you have a chance. And go out and have fun if you're able to. Eat what you want. Sushi's a big topic amongst the post-transplant peers. Have your medium rare steaks. It's going to take a while before you can go out and experience the things that you used to enjoy. Mm-hmm. And it could be a different experience for everyone, but you may not enjoy certain things the same way that you did before. Like for me, I love spicy food. After transplant, I could not eat spicy food or tolerate the same way that I did in the past.
Okay.
So that's one thing that I did not know. But there are other things that I feel like I enjoy a little bit less because of just my current circumstances.
Wow. I just feel like I have so many questions. So, Kitrena, I said before, your grit is exceptional, your grace. What helps you keep it all in perspective? Who's been your biggest supporters?
Yeah, I mean, I've done it before as a child, and I said to myself that I'm just going to do it again. I'm going to do it again. And I never thought that cancer will defeat me. And as cliche as it may sound, I've always believed in living life to the fullest. And I'm not done with seeing the world yet. I really enjoy traveling. So I look forward to continue to doing that.
Great.
And I'm going to defeat cancer, which I have twice already.
You sure have.
And my biggest support really are my parents, my brother, my partner, and all the friends that I have. But the biggest supporter is really my partner. He stuck with me from the beginning and now and hopefully in the future. When I was younger, my parents took so much responsibility. You know, as a child, you can't really do much. They make all decisions for you. But having my partner by my side, like he saw a different side of things. He showed me a different way to experience life. So it was a different type of care that my parents gave me.
I'm imagining it gave your parents a break.
It did, absolutely. And they're so thankful for that, so appreciative. I can't even express how much I appreciate my partner.
Aww.
Like, I feel at this point, like, because I've been ill, I've become so dependent of him, and I am always someone who's been very independent.
Yeah.
Even as a child, when I was diagnosed then and going through that journey at that young age. But it was a different set of experience this time around, especially with the medical technology.
Sure. Well, you are a tough cookie, no doubt, and he must be a great guy. So tell me about this vacation you took. It was long overdue. Tell us some of the details.
Yeah, it was a long overdue vacation. We had booked everything a year in advance. And honestly, I was not sure at the time when we booked. So we made sure everything was refundable. But we ended up going after talking to my medical team, making sure it was okay, but understanding the risks as well, because I was not fully vaccinated at that time. And my body didn't respond well to all the vaccines. And there was also a huge concern on the measles outbreak as well.
Where did you go, Kitrena?
I went to Singapore, Malaysia, and Japan.
Wow.
It was a big Asia trip. Went for about 2 weeks.
Okay.
And I've been to all 3 countries before. And some of it, I felt like I was retracing my steps. But it felt different this time around because physically, it was just much more difficult. Every step I took was painful because I'm not sure if other people and other cancer patients have experienced this before post-transplant, but I get this episode of an exercise-induced rash whenever engaging in more physical activity or in the heat where there's more humidity. It's just a lot of fluid buildup. And I'm still recovering from it right now. And it's been over 2 months already.
Okay.
So a little bit different on how I travel, but it's a journey that I felt that I had to do regardless of the risks because it's something that I enjoyed and was passionate about. And my goal is to continue to travel. So I have some fitness goals for myself, hoping that would make my traveling more easy in the future.
Well, traveling is, exhausting even when you're feeling well. So I can't imagine what it was like. And that is such a big trip. So maybe give yourself a break, I'm sure you'll do it again. Maybe not quite as long or, that we all learn lessons from these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about weight gain? Has that been an issue for you?
Yeah, that has been a huge issue for me because I was always fit and health conscious. I would be the person to go to gym 5 days a week, eat well. And now it's such a huge difference. Because of weight gain and menopause post-transplant. So I felt like the weight gain was super expedited. Like I somehow gained 15 pounds 1 month. And then for the second month, gained another 15 pounds.
Really?
I could not explain it. No one explained anything to me. It's just like, oh, this is kind of normal. It's not anything too concerning. But I felt like, I'm not used to the body that I once had. And my body didn't get a chance to adjust to the weight. And the weight kept increasing and increasing over time. And then to find out, this is a huge thing, a huge issue for people who are in menopause.
Yes, I can attest to that. It is. And you're so young to have had to go through that at that point. So I wanted to ask you about your sibling and the role that he took in all of this. I know you mentioned a little bit earlier, but it sounds like he's pretty special.
Yeah, my younger brother, let me pause for a little bit.
Oh.
Well, when I was younger, my parents gave me a lot of attention. And when I was diagnosed at 8, he was 5, so very young at the time. He didn't really know exactly what was going on. But, as a parent, you kind of have to explain a little bit. And I'm not sure exactly how my parents explained it. But he was at my grandma's house for a week. And he couldn't really see my parents. And they were with me at the hospital at that time. And I was at the hospital for over a month, if I remember correctly. It was just a really long time.
Yeah.
And I think with the upbringing, the whole journey, it affects the whole family. It creates more anxiety, more fear as well. So it definitely affected him growing up in terms of just the care and the amount of fear that he has, taking less risks in terms of health. So we're always very health conscious as a family. And now that, I'm in this position, especially when I got my relapse, he was there to help me as well. He was ready to be the caretaker and take time off work. And he already told his manager, and she was fine with that. So he was going to take FMLA at that time. And he wasn't sure because at that time, because partners, you don't know if they're going to be forever, but your family is always going to be there.
Absolutely.
So at that time, it was difficult to really gauge what was going on. But I'm lucky that my partner stayed with me in the entire journey.
Yes.
My brother, yes, definitely. Even to this day, even though he's not my main caretaker, he does take into consideration of all things to try to protect me, tell me to not go on my trip to Asia because of the measles outbreak. So just a lot of concerns around a lot of different things. And my family's the same too, but he'll speak to my mom, my dad about it. And it's more oh, I see this on the news and I don't think it's a good idea. Or, oh, my throat, it's a little sore. I don't think I should come and join you guys for dinner. It's he's always on the lookout.
Well, sounds like an amazing guy. Very concerned and loving. Good for you. I'm glad you have a brother like that. So, Kitrena, any advice for caregivers? Anything you and your loved ones learned along the way that you might want to share today?
I mean, caregivers, some of the advice that I want to give, and I see this a lot, when there is a lot going on, bills are something that I feel that are overlooked, right? A lot of people get into debt this way. And then, when bills are due, people just pay them, right? So their family member can get the care that they need. So I see that, from my own personal experience, sometimes the bills are incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
I get bills from places that I've never been.
Interesting.
I've never been seen by a certain doctor. I don't know why they have my information and are sending me bills. So I feel that when you get a bill, look into it. Don't just pay them off because there are scams out there. Your data is out there. And yeah, just be mindful because once you meet your deductible, you should not have to pay anything further than that. So I think people forget sometimes, especially when a family member or someone that they care about is ill and they just want to make sure that they get the best care that they can get by paying the bills.
Boy, that's great advice. We have a new finance book that was written by a UCLA counselor that covers exactly these topics. And it's actually available as a PDF on our website if anybody wants to check it out. But this is a woman Sandra, who does this all day long and helps people make sure they understand the billing and the insurance and speak up for yourself. Like you're saying, advocate for yourself, make the phone call, double check. I haven't heard that where just random other doctors or groups are sending bills. That is really good advice.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, because I mentioned that I was calling other hematologist and oncologist offices, but I did not go to the appointment. They did not call me to confirm, and they sent me a bill. And I was like, I never got seen. So that was really odd to me.
Was it an error or was it a scam?
I think it was an error because I called and then I recalled like, okay, I did call this office.
Okay. Well, that's assuring.
They shouldn't call me or bill me if I was not seen.
Oh, absolutely. Good for you for standing up for yourself and not just paying that bill. Again, empowering people to advocate for themselves. That's one of our biggest missions, and getting to talk to someone like you and just drive the message home with your experience. Kitrena, is there any other advice that you have for us today?
Yeah, I feel like when I was younger, there was not too much focus on therapy at the time, and it wasn't as available as it is today. Even it was available when I was younger, I didn't know. I didn't know better, but you also had to really invest more of your time to go to every appointment. So because of today's world, we can, speak to a therapist virtually. I feel like, definitely for people who are going through this journey, therapy helps not only for you as the cancer patient or cancer survivor, but also for your caregivers as well. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that you have an issue. It's just something that I feel that is resourceful and could be helpful. You didn't even know that it would be helpful until you've done it yourself.
So true. I'm so glad you brought that up because it really sometimes is the elephant in the room for people. And I love the way you just phrase that because it could be temporary. It could be just to get you through a tough spot. It could be forever. And if it's forever, that's great too. And it does make a difference. We hear that again and again. So thank you for being so honest about that.
Thank you. I want to take a moment to thank my donor, a young woman with a big heart who took the time to save my life. Because of that, I am able to continue to experience the world and make more memories. Thank you.
Kitrena, I just marvel at you to have gone through cancer not only once, but twice. You are truly an inspiration and a fighter. And here you are with a smile on your face through it all and with lots of love in your heart and a great support system. It's just been a pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Peggy. I hope my story can help someone feel a little less alone.
And I'm sure it will. Thank you, Kitrena.
This has been the Marrow Masters podcast. If you know someone who would benefit from the information in our show, please share this episode with them. And don't miss future episodes of our show. Follow Marrow Masters for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're listening right now. And to connect with the National Bone Marrow Transplant Link, visit nbmtlink.org or tap the link in our show notes.